We're delighted to welcome the A-team. Russell Quirk is back in his snook and loopy nuts are we waistcoat. In velvet snook, pop the red and screw back with the yellow.
It was a bit of Oliver Twist playing snooker.
It was, yeah.
I've not seen that film.
Steve Davis of Political Discourse.
Yeah.
And Andy Williams, one of the few lefties along with Lars that we love. And Andy just said to me that you've just said the most, what was it? The most dreadful thing I could say. I said, how old are you? He said 33. I said, you grow out of all these left-wing ideas.
Eventually. Wait till you get to 50. You'll be normal.
How old are you, Russ?
Yes, next question.
No, how old are you, seriously?
56.
So I am the oldest in the studio by a mile.
In the building, I suspect.
No, Mike's still here. So let's just as quick as we can, because I'm getting 300 quid because I'm actually going to work tomorrow and I'm getting 300 quid from the government. So you've got an interesting week. Weight loss jabs for fat people is going to encourage the feckless to get off their backsides and go to work.
Well, 7% of the working age population are economically inactive, and we need to do something about it, because it can't be the case.
Stop their benefits.
It can't be.
Stop their benefits.
But it can't be the case that 1 in 14 people are so sick that they can't work, right? So there needs to be a strategy to do something about that. I don't know whether it's shoving needles in people's arms and giving them ozempic, but clearly that's not sustainable, is it? It's costing the country a lot of money.
Okay, so if we look at cost, and I'm going to put to you my ridiculous theory that you might have just heard when you were outside. Spend a lot of money bringing people in to do jobs that apparently nobody in Britain wants to do. I can't have that. We take 4 million unemployed people. We say 2 million are mentally ill and disabled. I'm not falling for the left's thing that everybody's got mental illness. I think that's rubbish. I'm going to say to those 2 million, in return for benefits, I expect you to give, whilst you're looking, something back to society and do those very jobs that apparently we need to import people for. Why not? Why does that not encourage them to get something on the CV, give them motivation, give them self-respect? Why don't we do that?
Well, I think that's roughly the government's position, actually.
Well,
I think that's about
Can I just suggest that instead of giving the feckless fat these anti-weight injections...
Say what you really think.
I'm going to. Wait for it. We inject them with adrenaline.
Oh dear. Well, I'm not sure we
get them moving. Get them moving.
We can't do that. We can't do that. The thing is, let's be perfectly honest, and I'm being honest. There are people who want to work and can't. Okay, I make that point. I don't want to make that point. I make the point all the time, right? There are people who technically feel the system's against them. Absolutely happy to pay tax. Absolutely happy, right, to say to those people, you know, I'll help you. But you have to understand, I think, Andy, I think you as Russell, I mean, I don't know if you agree with me, we have now bred a society where there are people who have no intention of working and want to take advantage of the system, and that is not good enough.
But there will always...
What are you going to give to thin unemployed people?
Unless you decide you're not going to have a safety net at all, there will always be people, unfortunately, there will always be people
thin people that are unemployed?
But there are hundreds of thousands of households that are on their 3rd generation of people that have never worked.
Well, I mean...
Never, ever worked.
So that's a structural problem in the economy.
Yeah, but people just have to take personal responsibility.
No, I agree.
I have a bit of an issue that the state now are intervening in people's weight. Yeah. However, I do see, so the counter-argument to the cost of this, and I don't know what that cost is, let's say it's £1 billion to inject lots of feckless fat people with ozempic. The actual benefit of that in terms of the long-term cost, in terms of the National Health Service not being bothered by those people as much as perhaps otherwise they might be, it probably is economic.
Yeah, obesity costs the NHS £6.5 billion a year.
But this is my argument, and Ryan always looks at me like I'm being really unfair because I used to get into trouble for saying this. I mean this decently. Obesity, right? Nobody is born obese. The biggest lie in the... Well, there's 3 lies. I never argue with my wife. My baby sleeps all night and, oh, he was born big bone. No, he wasn't. And without wanting to upset people, if you eat... I've done this for many years. If you live off takeaways and you sit on the couch watching television, right, and you don't walk and you don't try and eat healthily, you are going to put on weight. A sedentary lifestyle will cause the weight, the diabetes and the drain. And I think there's nothing wrong with helping people who can't help themselves, but we also have to say to people who aren't prepared to help themselves, I'm not paying you to do so.
Well,
that's what I passionately think.
If it's not the weight, then what else will it be? You know, is there an injection to stop people drinking too much, an injection to stop the smoking too much, you know, and so on? I mean, people have to take personal responsibility.
No, I agree.
But I guess from the government's perspective, I'm trying to be balanced here, you know, I see that they're trying to help because I think there is perhaps a long-term good. I get that.
I do think we need to do something about a culture whereby, and I couldn't have said this yesterday to Liz, I love you, I do think we have a situation where, when I went to school, and now I'm very old, you'll agree when you get to marriage, you went to school or university and college. Now, I don't care what anybody says, it's a career choice, you can sign on. I think that's absolutely appalling. I think this is absolutely...
Do you think that's changed, though? I'm genuinely asking, is that a shift in the last 25, 30 years?
Funny enough, unemployment is not the problem. It was certainly when I was at school in the 80s. So in that respect, no. But the problem is now we have too many people also off with anxiety and depression and so on. A million people are off.
Well, that was interesting. We had a disabled guy earlier who said he's really struggling to get social housing with his wife, and he feels like a second-rate man. And yet he said, I don't believe that all the people that are off with ADHD and anxiety and this, that and the other, I don't believe that's... He said, I feel like these people are using it in many instances. Well, I think that's a relevant point. That's all I'm saying.
It can't be the case, as I say, that 1 in 14 people who can work... Oh, sorry, 1 in 14 working-age people can't work, because that's just too high a proportion.
Yeah. That's absolutely right.
But when you're talking about the unemployment figures, you know, those people aren't included in those figures. That's where it's a bit skewed.
Yeah. So unemployment. So unemployment's about 4% and a bit, isn't it, of economically active people? So yeah, you're right. So that is a big problem. And the fact, don't forget, we have 22 million people on benefits in this country. So most are on universal credit. And then look, and I'm going to sound like I'm on his side here.
God, hold on, stand by. Russell's gone left.
Maybe I'm moving over to the left, but we've got to get past a situation where employers think that they can pay people less because they're going to be topped up by universal credit.
Yeah, I agree.
That's got to stop as well.
Just before we go to a break, very quickly, Starmer to me, when he was on BBC Breakfast outside Number 10, we just saw the clip, looked very, I don't know, confused by life. He hasn't ruled out an NI now rise for employers.
Employers.
Yes.
This is very disingenuous.
I'm not quite sure how...
It's breaking the manifesto, isn't it? Let's be honest.
It is, and I'm not quite sure why they don't understand that people who build businesses, employ people, make money, and that serves us all well for growth. Why do we seem to be wanting...
You're taking money out of basically the same pot, because that is going to be passed on to employees in the form of lower pay rises.
You can't have an investment summit where you apparently raise £64 billion, by the way, most of which was recycled from the Conservatives that started the ball rolling on most of those projects, like data centres and Stansted and so on. But anyway, you can't on the one hand say, look at all the money that we've got attracted to this country, and then at the same time, to those very same investors and employees, but we're going to tax you till the pip-squeak.
Do you think they're out their depth, the Labour Party?
No, you won't be surprised to say that I'm going to say no. The problem is there's a really great little this has been doing the rounds on
austerity.
No. There is that doing the rounds on Twitter today. A tool that the FT have put together where you can be the Chancellor and balance the budget for the day, right?
Needs to be.
And it's basically impossible to do because.
Then be honest with people.
Be honest with people.
I don't care actually. And I'm going to say something you'll think I'm going to say. I don't care which side you're from. I think most people in this country are sick and tired of blarney and bluster from politicians. You wouldn't get elected, but I'd stand up and I'd go, let me tell you, you'd stand up and you'd go, we are skint, right, that there aren't enough, I'm going to do my best, you can take you with me, I'm going to be honest with you. But we don't, it'll be fantastic, it'll be perfect.
I was here in the run-up to the election saying, the one thing about Labour's campaign is I wish they'd be more honest about tax rises.
You weren't.
And they weren't.
Well, but would you agree with me that actually when you campaign as a party or a politician up to an election and you promise and pledge certain things, you should be held contractually to those things. You cannot look the electorate in the eye and say we're going to do these 5 or 6 things and then get elected. I don't know.
I'm not saying I agree with you, but I think you're both fundamentally wrong with what happened. And I'll say, Ryan says to me, he's going to say it again, they didn't need to... The Labour Party didn't need to give us anything.
But
they'd
have won
all of them.
But they haven't. There wasn't an awful lot. There wasn't.
Well, they certainly didn't tell us the stuff that they have done.
I reckon you could have put. I think Jeremy Corbyn would have won the last election against that Conservative government. They are.
That would have been close. That would have been.
I'm being really serious.
Corbyn is honest and consistent.
What?
No, Corbyn is honest and consistent.
We are.
Know where you stand with Jeremy Corbyn.
No, you don't.
He's very honest about his position.
Well, that's true. It hasn't changed.
Who thought you'd tune in to talk to hear a right winger supporting Jeremy Corbyn against a Labour guy being utterly appalled?